Okay, welcome everyone. Matt Clark, calling to order the Economic Development Commission meeting for November 24th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. That's our call to order. Public participation is encouraged. And I don't, that's waiting room, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna move on from public participation. Economic Commission business, I'd like to add a couple of items to the agenda. We'll put that up to a vote to make sure we're copacetic and we're doing everything legally. So we need to add next year's schedule under commission business. So that'd be A, B, C, D. D, next year's schedule. We can add, that's it. I think that's all. So can I have a second for that motion?
I'll second
All
that.
right.
Schedule.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next thing is economic development strategic plan. We have our strategic plan. And we were going to try and get the Board of Selectmen to help us along with having a public presentation of that plan. And we're also wanted to present to the Board of Finance. I asked Bruce Lawler to postpone the Board of Finance because it was scheduled on the first meeting of the new Board of Finance, and they have a lot of business to do. So I thought, listen, discretion is the better part of valor here. Let's just cool our jets and wait a little while. They have a lot more important business to do. So hope that was okay with everybody.
We talked about it. Smart.
New
group coming in, old group leaving.
Yeah. I did from our last meeting, I did reach out to Kara, our assessor, and I got the list for the database dump, if I guess you would call it, of the section 490 or regulation 490, EA 490. That's the farmland taxation. So that can provide us with a list of folks to contact when we reach our part of our plan where we want to reach out to the farmers in town and try and set something up, some kind of ongoing support for those folks. And I think Joan, you had said that you knew a lot of those folks who had reached out to them before. I think, is that right?
Well, I know Spencer and etc. And then I think that okay, so Margaret and us, they're probably on that list too, because they raise cattle.
Margaret does, really?
Yeah, they've got farm behind them, chickens and things like that, so they may just be on that list too.
Okay.
Once we see the list, we can see who,
Sure.
and we can see
I'll forward that.
already know.
It's okay. All right. Not too forward. The next item on our economic development strategic plan, I think, will be we wanted to try
One point more on that economic. Spoke with Lauren Forgione. She's the owner of F&F, which was the old Dizzy House.
Yeah.
And we're going to be meeting probably the second week in December. And she's very interested in the tax organization program, so she's following the town. And she purchased that from Desiata. It's the mining pit coming down 32 before you hit
South Burlington.
yeah, it's on the right hand side if you're going south.
Is that where they've been dumping things from the town?
No, it's strictly started out, and I looked this in Mr. Dizzy out Phil talk about when he worked with his dad down there, and they made some big mistakes in the beginning, but they basically are pouring dirt out and rock out, and they're bringing dirt in, obviously, then filtering it and selling it on a different label. But they got two different they got track, rail track. They own the upper half, and they own the lower half.
Yeah.
And they're doing a little bit of work with rail right now. It's It's a guy that brings in logs and he debarks them and they ship it by rail overseas. So it's just that she's a very bright woman. Desiato sold to her. Well, we were talking to Desiato, he went sideways on me, so I knew something was up and it was time for him to sell. And she is interested in developing in town. She likes the town. She spoke with Mike, a couple weeks after she bought the property. And she's interested in some kind of industrial park or something that she would own. And she has a company that could put in needed septic systems or whatever, because she's in that business, she's in construction. So it's a good choice, but again, I told you, she's a sharp businesswoman. And she said, if I'm gonna do all this work, like any good businessman, and I'm gonna bring tax revenue to the town, I need to understand what my bogey is, what the road bumps are. That's very common response. You know, I'm gonna be taking the risk. So, are you my partner or you're not?
So that's the second week of December. Yeah, we know I'm available evenings now, so not during the day, but evenings.
I'd rather do the first one myself,
Okay.
because we've got a decent relationship.
Okay.
I mean, it's the first thing she said to me. They get with me on the summer. What's the stat? What's the forecast, or what's the current situation on the tax ordinance? I said, we're still matching what's.
A work in progress. Okay, thanks. Then is there anything else on the economic development plan that anybody wants to discuss? Cheryl, are you okay on out there in ether land?
Yes, I'm good.
Well, and I think that when the current version of the stabilization ordinance failed, one of the things that we heard at the meeting was that nobody had enough time to read it and there was a lot of information and it might be good, but it was just too unfamiliar. And most of that is just sort of, I think, the public process, and people tend to not get involved until the last minute. But I think a part of that still obligates the town to, I think, host that quote unquote public hearing, so that when if and when a revised ordinance goes to town meeting, we can say we did it. And so I think we had talked about maybe trying to dovetail the strategic plan and the stabilization ordinance sort of hearing into one singular meeting. I think there's a lot of overlap, and the same people that need to be in the room for those discussions would be there or should be there for both. And I don't see the point in scheduling two meetings if you can get things together with one. But, you know, I had a little bit of a discussion today with Mike McCoo about a bunch of different things. And I talked to him about this and I said, you know, the challenge is going to be how do we get the type of ordinance that the business community is going to need, because with them it's a need, right? It's a mathematical equation. If it doesn't work, there's no project. So you have this side of the equation and the other side of the equation, which is what the townspeople sort of understand and are comfortable supporting. And if we don't get those together, then there really is no value to bringing another ordinance to a town meeting. So I think that needs to be the purpose of the public hearing, is convincing those folks that, you know, the ordinance needs to accomplish certain things. And if we can't all get behind the things that it needs to accomplish, then even if we adopt it, we're not going to see any use, right? People aren't going to come to Willington because of a stabilization ordinance. They might pull the trigger on the project once they're here because of it. It may make those numbers work where they otherwise might not. But that in and of itself isn't going to be the reason someone's going to show up here. So I think we need to have sort of that honest conversation about how we get to a place where that ordinance is actually viable, right? Especially for someone like Lauren. She's going to have 2 to 3 times the cost in the non-tangible stuff like site work and all this other stuff, which is not value that we will tax. It's her risk, but it's not value that we realize. And so for her, you know, the ability to stabilize will help some, but not to the extent that an adjacent community that's willing to abate will. Because there's when you have the abatement, I think there's a greater recognition that they're sinking tens of millions of dollars into a site that we don't even recognize as value. I even Love's, I think their site work was like $10 million. that's value that we don't even see. And so they have to put that money up somehow. And that's, I think, where the rub is. So the stabilization is important if you have high value, but it's not gonna help people that have sort of all those other qualities. If we're gonna go with just the stabilization, we gotta really make sure that we have it done in such a way that it will be as workable as it can be in the confines of just being stabilization and not abatement.
I wouldn't call it, I'd call it an incentive.
It is an incentive for sure, but it's an incentive once the project is there, right? It's just saying we're gonna create that flat approach
Part
to.
part of the decision.
Yeah,
You're measuring cash flow. You know, I mean, I've done this, and, you know, someone has a need. It's in Chicago. The rails farm, the land is costing that. We do this business on the East Coast. We go out to Chicago. Town gave us a take. So we put up 200,000 square feet on the CN Railroad. Went for all of them with regards to debt. But at the same time, we anticipating our cash flow as the months and years go out, especially in the beginning. That's, I mean, there has to be a need, has to be someone who will take on the risk. There's got to be a partner. Partner's got to be a town.
Mhm.
That's one of the partners.
How does the stabilization differ from tax abatement?
Abatement is essentially saying we will forgive you and not charge you taxes
Okay.
to a certain
coupon.
extent.
That's what I thought, because that will come up in this meeting.
Mhm.
You know, if you have it, they'll want to know what are other tax structures that might work, et cetera.
This is done all over the place. I guarantee we know one of the 20 towns that already have it passed in the state of Connecticut and get a boilerplate agreement without spending an awful lot of money on lawyers that would offer that kind of financial assistance, you know.
No,
And ours was a matter of it started lower and caught up to itself over 10 years.
you know, so I mean, I think this is a good idea. I'm just saying that this will, you know, come up so we can be prepared to.
You know, one of the hardest problems about doing business in Willington for a developer will be the startup cost, like we're just talking about. You don't have water, you don't have septic. You know, you want to put in an industrial park, you're gonna spend a lot of money putting up a co-op septic tank.
Now, we've been over at when I said the truck stop, the old truck stop, they truck in water. They have tankers water tankers that come, it's usually Sunday afternoon, or even from the dump and buying gas. It's there, it's filling up.
Is that for potable water, drinking water?
I think it is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because it's it's a recognized truck. It isn't just
I
somebody.
think I've seen it there too. It may be that they have a problem.
Well, they just
Trying to
changed,
protect
yeah,
them.
they just did a whole new
Right,
well
so
house and everything.
The state just changed all their water standards for water treatment systems with both FedEx and TAR. So they are having to put a significant amount of money into upgrading all their wells. So it could just be that while they're going through that process of upgrading, they're bringing water. I don't know.
Yeah,
But they haven't
had
had-
over the summer while they, next to the original pump house, you know, they were all piped in with it, and since that, they moved over, those tankers have been gone.
Yeah, so it could just be while they're doing those upgrades or the testing. But maybe the electrical, they need fire suppression, or I have no idea, but they're both having to do significant upgrades to their water quality systems per the state. And have gotten approvals to make those upgrades. So that's my guess what it was. If there was a water problem there and they didn't have water, that would be DPH would have been down here, because they're a water treatment facility. They have showers and so we'd have heard, and they're all septic, so they need that water. So my guess is we'd have heard about it, but who knows? We don't hear about a lot of stuff.
So, we sort of move forward to our tax stabilization ordinance. The feedback, as everyone indicated, the feedback during discussion that we had at the town meeting was that this was too soon. It was
We didn't have the talent
not
to do it.
informed, it was or correctly or something, that people weren't aware of it, and then there were some folks that were just simply, listen, I don't want any of this. I just don't want it, none.
There was a
That's
one I
two-
talked to
two-
that the Board of Selectmen had too much power to make the decision.
Or
they were
the
questioning-
Board of Selectmen wasn't
Right.
smart enough to.
They were
Correct,
the
yeah.
ability of the board of selectmen.
But it was, they weren't, it wasn't really negative. That, you know, people were interested in it and they wanted to know more about it. And I didn't feel like most of them had any really set opinion about it at this point. I think you did a great job at presenting it. And people, you know, didn't jump on it like they do normally around here, and it was an agreement that we'll learn more before we make a decision. I thought that was pretty constructive.
So,
It might have been disappointing, with, you know, that we want to move things faster, but this is Willington.
yeah, it was a year and a half of work, and it was disappointing, but so I think if it's okay with you guys, I would suggest, I want to know, I don't know what the Board of Selectmen is going to want. Mike voted against it. The Board of Selectmen, so that was, Andy is for it. He has on record as saying yes. I've talked to Ralph. Ralph is on board. He's an approval, or
He spoke in favor of it at that meeting.
mostly, yeah. So I would just say that, I don't know whether or not, in order to do this, in order to have a public hearing, it has to be called with the Board of Selectmen. So I think what we should probably do is just, I'll write a letter to the Board of Selectmen, Mike, and say, hey, listen, I just need to know, do you want us to do this? If you do, then we'll move forward, constructively, and we'll do the hearing, and we'll put both of these on there, the presentation on the economic development plan, strategic plan, and the tax stabilization ordinance. And then we'll move forward and schedule. Now, we talked, is that okay? I mean, what do you guys think about this? Is that all right?
For the board of selectmen, when we made the presentation
Hmm.
versus the board of selectmen next year,
Mm-hmm.
is Andy's the only one that's left on it?
Andy's the only one.
Okay, well, I mean, does it make sense to sit down with them one more time? Just include that in the letter.
Yeah, if you want, that's.
Yeah, you have the option,
All right.
yeah, just to see.
Do you think that it makes sense to present a revised or refreshed or some updated ordinance in any way to the public hearing? Right, because normally the way that P and Z does it is we get something to a place where it's ready, then we have a public hearing. If based on comments, we would make minor changes, but not wholesale changes, and then that gets voted. So, we heard some sort of high level feedback and then also some more granular feedback. Do we make edits and run that through the public hearing process, or have the public hearing and then use that to?
I think. I'm not interested in what everybody else thinks, but I think we should make a tweak or two.
I agree.
And that would be, the one really constructive thing that was really true, and I wish we had done this, but is to lay out how it works so that people can see it. They go, oh, I see how this works. First you do this, and there's a little box there that says what it is. And then you do this. Oh, I see that. And this is where the decision is made. Okay. This is how it's implemented. Okay. Because they didn't know. No one, to me, it was apparent. I didn't, looking in hindsight, it really wasn't. So we, if we can, I think we should add that to the present, because I did that big presentation. It's something on the website, I think, explaining all sorts of, every detail you possibly could imagine about this thing. But one thing that wasn't in there was, this is how the process would work in Willington.
So,
That was pretty good. I don't know who that was, but that was pretty good. Mike, can I work with you on that?
Sure.
Or do you guys, does anybody else want to take this on, or I can send it to everyone?
Where do we start? Do we start with what's out there with regards to the other agreements that are being done in some of the towns?
Go ahead, John.
No, so I just wanted to Matt to clarify. You're suggesting almost something of like almost like a visual flow chart to show
Yeah.
steps and a decision making. Yeah, no, I think that would be. I would suggest that would be useful now.
Yeah.
And then to help you then take that to the new board of selectmen to kind of redevelop the support there, so that they're sort of the first test case now, to understand, and then bring it to the public, showing them that you have been responsive to some of that feedback. Yeah.
Thank you for that, John. You're right. So yeah, now, and I'll include it along with this letter, and so anyway, that's my thought on it. I was thinking about this, how we can move forward, and that was very constructive, that comment. So, as far as I don't know, it also answers the question. Remember, you brought it up, Mike. The issue of the board of selectmen isn't qualified to do this. They're going to get bamboozled. But if you have the process there, you can see. Oh, look, this is where they hired a lawyer to do the. You know what I mean?
Right.
That makes sense.
That would be helpful.
Maybe a little bit more public reassurance of how it's being
Yeah.
looked at as a whole.
So,
The room was stacked.
well, we don't want to get
No, I'm just saying. And it was, they had concerns,
yeah.
they brought people,
Yeah.
and they both.
Yeah.
And now we have to figure out how do we make the presentation a little bit more acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, we have a common problem here. When you kind of need development here in Willington, because we have a problem with our not our cash flow, but we have a problem with matching here. We can only raise taxes so much. We have needs and things. No one wants to see the land, ruined or anything like that. But on the other hand, we need to have a little bit of development. So, anyway.
I would be interested in you running a draft of the original ordinance by Lauren. Because I think that when she looks at it and says, so if I come to town and I'm gonna dump tens of millions of dollars into a development, you're telling me that I need to walk myself to a town meeting and ask everybody to vote yes on the financial package that's going to deal with my stabilization agreement? She's gonna say, goodbye.
Goodbye. Not interested.
And I like fundamentally, I think that kills the ordinance to be used by anyone.
I mean, it was a suggestion by one or two people in the town meeting.
No, isn't that how it's written there for those larger scale?
No, the only.
I thought
there was specific things. There was
I don't have my computer. I can bring it up.
I know there was basically like three
There's
bullet
three of
points
them.
of it.
One of them was it had to go to town meeting, but that's specified by the state of Connecticut, and I think that was for. It's not general development. Yeah,
You're right. No, you're right. It's not. It's already there, so it's not, a person isn't gonna come in and start all the work that Mike's talking about and all of a sudden go in front of a town meeting and get shot down.
See, you're looking it up here.
Electric generating facility.
Right, that's the one that has to go to town meeting.
And then the one. Or selectmen and tax eligible improvements from period network.
That's the general commercial is Board of Selectmen, and then the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance is for the farm, I think. And it's because of the state statutes. That's the reason why it's written that way.
Where does it say in general? Okay, so that's part 2.
Am I right, Mike?
I'm looking for the general commercial. It just says part 2 for the purpose of part 2. Oh, eligible improvement shall mean, purpose, office use, retail, permanent residential use and construction with transient residential, manufacturing, warehousing, structured multi-level parking, transportation, mixed use, information technology, recreation. So I guess this would be.
That's the one that's Board of Selectmen. Right?
Yeah, I'm looking at a general, like a sort of a general commercial development. So it would be office commercial, office retail. I don't see the word commercial in there. Yeah, I mean, the word commercial is listed under the other one for something else. But it just talks about, so I guess the question is if somebody was a contractor or, wasn't a manufacturer or warehouse person, what would they qualify as? What would, like a construction company or someone like that, what would they fall under from the industry standards that are being discussed here?
I don't have the text, so I couldn't, I don't know. I should have printed, I should have brought it.
Well, I have them printed. I just am, it says,
Well, I mean, they're all over town now. What are they classified in that town? What is Tipsky?
well, what we would classify them as is, could be whatever, but I'm just wondering if,
Within their.
right.
Statute.
It says office use, retail use, permanent residential use in connection with a residential property consisting of 4 or more units. Transient residential use in connection with a residential property of 4 or more. Manufacturing. So, but what about if it's just like I said, a construction company? They just,
We can add it.
like a Genovese or somebody that has a bunch of people and a bunch of equipment and
Industrial contract.
right, but they're not producing anything on the site. They leave with truck and labor.
Warehousing their equipment as a laydown yard.
Service on
Yeah.
Information, rec, transportation, mixed use. But I think that sort of that general catch-all of somebody that is doing that type of commercial operation, unless it's further defined, but I think trying to think of another business that's in town that would sort of qualify, or even like, right out of my head. I think any of those types of users, even Becker, which is not to say that there's much of a property improvement there. But the building, the machinery, the employees,
Rich road, county line, septic.
right, right, yeah.
Sado, I mean.
Sado, yeah, none of those types of uses, those contractor commercial uses, I think, on their face. And so then what I worry about is you're trying to run one of these through and there's a concern that the specific category isn't there. And so I think we might want to just include that somehow.
Okay.
Is there any value limits to being able to apply for tax stabilization?
There's a minimum
Yeah.
of a
Yeah.
million. We'll call it the general commercial because I think that's most inclusive, and that has a minimum. The cost of eligible
Changes.
improvements at least a million.
It changes along the 3.
Yeah. So for the electric generation facilities, it's 3 million. General commercial is a million, and then
400,000 or 200,000 or something for the last one.
and then
Agriculture.
yeah.
So if it's not really emphasized, from looking at this list, you get the impression that anybody who wants to start any business can get this. You see what I mean?
It's complete.
Yeah, and so I don't want the townspeople to think that every business that comes along is going to be getting this tax stabilization, so it has to be explained that it's for,
Yeah.
higher value businesses that are really going to need it in order to come in here.
I mean, there's also some language in there about, we don't want to put all current people in a situation where they can't compete with the people that we're giving some assistance to.
Mhm.
So that's also in there.
That's another
that's
point,
key.
yeah.
Yeah, that's key.
Okay.
I mean, we got to figure out what actually then is the next step.
Well, I think that
Based on where we're at.
the upside to getting those in is that they help defray the cost of future costs of the town, which means that the burden on those existing businesses is going to be less
Mhm.
because they're now sharing those costs. And for large projects, they do things like maybe they add infrastructure that then those smaller businesses can tap into without having to fund. The other thing that I heard was that, some comment was that essentially they equated it to, well, if they're supposed to be paying $100,000 in the first year, and they are only paying 75 because we've stabilized it, that means that the townspeople are defraying the cost. We're putting up the 25,000 in effect, which is not the case.
No.
Again, I think that no one truly understood the stabilization versus abatement. Because it just means we're pushing off when we get that money, not that we're having to get that money from somewhere else. So,
But then the tax rate though is based on that 75, not the 100,000 per,
the
with
tax.
when the budget is made out,
Mhm.
then they would count on the 75,000 going towards the budget. And I think people didn't understand that. They thought that they were losing money in there when they're not.
Right, yeah, they're not. Because when the assessor and the finance folks do sort of an effective taxable value, it's gonna be based on all those adjustments, just like veterans exemptions, PA 490, BAA, all those adjustments. Those all come out so that you see what you're actually able to get the money from.
Yeah.
I talked it over with Carol. All you do is you take the agreement, you read the agreement, you make sure that what you're doing, then you match it to what you're doing this year.
Right,
Okay, it matches, and then you're done until next year.
right,
Next year you pick it up again, you go, okay, here you go.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
It's money we don't have.
right, it's new money.
We need money. It's money we don't have it. And stabilization is probably the wrong word. It should be incentive.
yeah.
Well, incentive has problems, because incentive means I'm giving something to someone.
Well, we did talk about adjusting that so that the
Oh.
word tax wasn't in the title.
Yeah.
We talked about it being a real property
Assessment.
stabilization
Assessment.
or assessment. We talked about taking the word tax out of it. Because I think people think that, tax is sort of after the fact. It's that,
Yeah.
just to
Yes.
not have it be confusing.
Cheryl, I don't see you raising your hand, and I don't mean to call on you out of turn, but I know you're there, and I feel like I need to give you an opportunity to say yes or no, or I don't agree, or
I'm good.
there
It
you
all
go.
sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate
Of
it.
course.
All right. All right. So, just to summarize, we'll work on that flow. I'll work on that flow chart. Mike, I'll work with you on that. Is that okay?
I told John that since he did, he decided to pipe in and explain what he think it'll be there, that he volunteered to take the track on it. So
Okay.
Smart man.
Yeah.
that sounded to me like I was volunteering, so I told
Delegation,
him.
That's fine, it's all right.
Sounds to me like you volunteered.
And then he hung up on
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, well, he has that 7 o'clock. So I said, perfect.
Make sure it's in the
Um,
notes.
Okay. Then,
I think the one question that I have is the public hearing on the amendments or on an amended ordinance, or is the public hearing prior to an amended
no,
ordinance?
it's after we do any tweaks
Revisions.
or revisions or flow charts or anything like that.
Okay,
So, let's see, let's try and project out, when would that be? February, probably, maybe March, I don't know. It takes 2 weeks. So when it goes to Board of Selectmen, it takes 2 weeks. So that puts us at January 31st. January 31st, they need to, so that gives us 60 days to come up with our revisions to it and a flow chart, right? And then we can meet briefly on December 22nd, which is our next meeting. I don't know how you guys feel about meeting on December 22nd. I got a 1 no.
well, the other thing I'm thinking is the Board of Selectmen, the new Board of Selectmen has to actually say, yeah, we want to be saddled with this responsibility of the way the ordinance is written.
Right.
They may say, we don't want it.
Yeah, they very well may. So,
So maybe we make amendments
Which is
and then we
one of the
sync up
reasons
with
why
them.
I'm saying
Yeah.
big with the Board of Selectmen
no.
again.
Yeah.
But would it make sense to have the flow chart available for that meeting also?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what John was getting at. We should have that now.
Yeah.
Almost like we did the executive summary for the strategic plan, because we can't expect that people are gonna zip through the whole ordinance and sort of digest it.
I agree. I think that's a smart move. With regards to, we'll understand how big the battle is or isn't in front of us.
Yeah. So, I have 1 revise, 2 flow chart, 3 present to Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
And then ask them for, that's if they agree. I mean, if they want to have it presented.
Yep.
right? Okay,
So we are scheduled, we have not scheduled, we just didn't show for the 11, November 20th meeting. When are we going to be sitting down with the board of finance?
I don't know, because the membership changed and they weren't sure, right, what they were gonna, that would have to be in that same area, right, because the budget process is gonna start.
they're not gonna want to take away from the budget process.
Right.
So that leaves us January only. That doesn't give us enough time to revise, do the flow chart, find out if the board of selectmen still wants to do this. So, you know, if they support it, because if they don't support it, there's no use of going to the board of finance, right?
I agree.
I mean, I think the Board of Finance has a different role because they don't, well, I guess as it's currently written, they would have some involvement in the
Agricultural part.
agricultural.
When I
component.
had the lawyers, when I worked with the lawyers to develop this tax stabilization ordinance, I asked them, I said, do you want me to, you know, do we have to present to the board of finance? Do we need to get their approval? No, they're not involved in this. It's not their role. It's the board of selectmen's role. They're the ones who do it. The board of finance budget, they're the ones who do the budgeting. And I'm like, okay, great. So we had people on the board of finance sit in on our meetings and talk and completely aware, but so
they had some involved.
yeah. So you know, I don't know. I mean, let's worry about the board of selectmen first.
Yeah, like you said, if we don't walk out of there with some good vibes,
Then you
makes
know,
no sense.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. Good.
Great.
Zoning regulation amendments. We talked about Board of Planning and Zoning. I've talked to some folks on P and Z. And Mike, thank you. You know, the potential to revise our SDZ regulations or in order to you know, make the ability to locate here in town and apply for zoning approvals and things a little easier or a little less costly, not easier, less costly. So so Mike, maybe you can give us, and Mike, two Mikes, both of you guys have been involved in this. Maybe you can give us a little lowdown on where this came from, what happened, and what the Planning and Zoning Commission thinks we should be doing moving forward. That makes sense?
I won't speak to the planning and zoning part. I'll let Mike speak to that, but this was enacted back, what was discussed originally by this commission, went to P and Z in 21. It ultimately was adopted and became effective in early 22 and was in response to the town responding, I guess, if you will, to a statewide solicitation for a data center project. And I can't remember the name of it. I think it was actually called Project Bumblebee.
And I think if you correct me if I'm wrong, but there still is no data center inside the Connecticut.
Yeah, I think that it's just the cost of power is too expensive and they've completely given up on that.
There's also a latency issue. Someday they're going to have to build one because there's 2.5 million people here and you know, thousands of businesses.
Yeah.
Someday latency is going to mean, even if it's more expensive, they still got to build one.
Yeah.
And these things are going up nationwide like wildfire.
Yeah.
And tax rolls are screaming up. And we're completely left out. There's no growth in Connecticut at all.
So we submitted, so the state wanted to be able to show that sites had the conceptual ability to support some type of project along those lines. And so we developed the structure of the SDZ sort of as a two-pronged approach that would allow for the developer to essentially pick when they want to take the risk. You do less design up front and have a higher degree of oversight at the end, or you do more design up front and then the second half of the process moves much more quickly. The same level of review happens across either steps. They don't get to skip anything. It's just a matter of when they do it. And so that's what was originally adopted. So I printed the reg, just kind of, which outlines the whole process and all the requirements. In the very end has a flow chart, which is part of the reg that shows both of these steps, or the steps involved in both sort of proactive or traditional.
And that was approved by the Economic Development Commission before it went to the Planning and Zoning Commission
Yes.
back in 2021, I think it was.
It went in 21 and then it was approved. And then, I don't know if we wanted it or not. So then obviously we all know about the warehouse, and after that, there was a lot of concern about something like this coming again. And so there was an application made to the commission to essentially rescind the reg. Commission ultimately said, we don't want to rescind it in its entirety, but we are willing to take a look at it again. And so we rescinded all but the first three pieces of it. So we've kept the purpose and the vision, but gotten rid of everything else so that it's in the.
Where's the implementation part? Where's the part that says where it's, so it's eligibility and application process, right? And now, and those refer to the succeeding stuff.
Right. And so I think the one thing to think about with the SDZ is that this is meant for outliers. This is meant for unique projects that are big, that are complex, that have multiple uses and buildings.
High
that are
investment.
Sure. I mean, P&Z doesn't regulate cost or investment, but the idea is the traditional, what's the use? What is it, a special permit? Okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's this, here's that. The idea was to sort of flip the dynamic a little bit and create a process which the commission had more oversight of the design incrementally. It is not something that Dollar General would use. It is not something that Love's would use, not something that, you know, a smaller single-use development would use. And that's when you look at the eligibility, it's not just any parcel. That would just fall under the traditional zoning, which are these maps. This is meant for things sort of a little bit more unique.
So I came into this after the warehouse. So the SDZ reg had already been in place. The warehouse had presented itself. So I wasn't on P&Z at that time. I came in shortly after because I was interested in just knowing a little bit more. So I came at the end of it. But what I had learned, coming even at the end of it and hearing all the feedback, was the proof that the SDZ regulation actually worked. It worked to its exact intent, and the townspepeople ultimately had the decision.
Worked to its exact intent means
The application process, the putting this much information forward quickly to get a decision, so the developer had a clear-cut, you know, idea of whether or not the town was going to support it. Right away. So in that sense, it worked. It didn't drag it out. It worked to its fault. That, you know, the town said, no, we don't want this, and thank you, but no thank you.
Right.
So we ultimately, as Mike said, we rescinded it but didn't get rid of it. We've talked about how we need to revisit it and see how we can revitalize it to try to get something. We, P&Z, understand that there is a lack of business in town, the necessity, and how we revitalize it a little bit to gain some traction again, to get a big or an outside investor somehow. A special project that the town would be interested in. We've been trying to search for different avenues to make it more palatable but still inviting.
I get it.
It hasn't been easy.
Right. Mike, can you look up when this was rescinded? Just in the future, not right now, but
I have.
So I think the feedback, I remember the feedback was, well, part of it was this was developed just for that warehouse, and you know, this was colluding with them beforehand and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Mike was responsible.
yeah,
Yep.
I remember this,
It
and
was-
that warehouse thing was not involved.
was
in-
nasty.
It was all talking about the data center
It was very
opportunity
nasty.
and responding to the state of Connecticut, so I'd like to just discount that. And,
We did a lot of work on that. And
Yeah.
Rick was heavily involved in it.
yep,
And Rick had to resign. It just got downright nasty.
so, that being the case, I think maybe what we should probably do is look at, read this over, refamiliarize ourselves, it's been a couple of years. And look at how,
I don't like it. It did work.
yes, it worked exactly like it was supposed to.
It did what we
Yeah.
wanted it to do.
And I know no one wants to do anything that's good for business, but it also saved the developer a lot of money, because they didn't have to develop 90% or whatever it is plans. They could do, they still spent a lot, but not as much.
They got a marketing firm
I know.
working in front of them.
Yep. So maybe we all take a look at this and with an eye towards making suggested changes. And come prepared next time. Mike, if you can do the same,
It was rescinded in November.
November of 2022. All right.
Does this, in your opinion, make the process more understandable from a buyer's point of view?
Yes. So I wrote very similar regulations for Willington and another town, which is not a town that doesn't have a lot in common with Willington from a Randall's perspective. And we've met with several people and developers for this reg, and they say that what they like about it is that if you're on the marketing side, you can allow the client to decide when they want to take the risk, and have implemented it, have seen it through for a large mixed use development, several hundred residential units and commercial space, and have seen it. There's a very practical reason why doing this is valuable from a legal land use perspective, is that when we're talking about special development districts, the commission, the P&Z, has the ultimate discretion on whether or not to land that zone. If somebody comes in for a special permit to do a use in a zone on a property that is in a zone that use is allowed, right? It is not a subjective process where P&Z can decide, well, there's public opposition, we have concerns about this or that, or the public has raised unfounded concerns about something and therefore we will deny, right? There's strong case law that says speculation is not part of what the commission considers in issuing a decision. With a special development district, the commission is deciding whether or not to enter into that agreement and actually land that zone. And by making that decision, they have much broader legislative discretion, which means they could say, you know what, with all due respect, we think the sky is green and we don't want it. And we could say no. And even if everything in the record supports landing that zone, they are in much better.
In which case, the applicant then can switch to the regular process.
Sure, and they can go through that process. But on the special permit process, if they demonstrate everything in the special permit standards, the commission is more or less in the position where they must approve it. A lot of people think special permits are subjective and arbitrary, and they are not. And so they have to base the special permit decisions on evidence in the record. So if somebody says, we're concerned about the wells, and they show up with an engineer that says, we've done an analysis and there's more than enough capacity. We're worried about traffic, here's the traffic report. If they address the concerns in the record, the commission can't say, well, we're still just not sure, or this town really doesn't want it. So this was written in a way to allow the commission to have more cover for more unique and complex projects. That's important.
Was Love special permit or was that
Special permit.
So, okay, that's what we had remembered. So that's why they went through every hoop, every single.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they know that even if it means I'm involved in a project in another town, the public hearing's been open since April, well beyond the statutory timelines. But the applicant knows if we just keep providing all the information they request and we keep refuting and we keep demonstrating more of the information, we're just checking the boxes. And, they get to a point where even if they get a denial, well, okay, we'll go to a judge and we'll say the judge, they allowed the use, the the commission should have said yes, and they said no because a bunch of people showed up in opposition. And they didn't follow their regs, and the judge will say, you're right, they didn't. And those decisions get overturned. So we're trying to provide some of that coverage there too. Which it does do. Which is the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
But can I hold the mic for one more second? So the other stuff, if you're gonna take it, I did print, because I think it's important, is the current use table. So this is the table of uses, which lists all the things that are allowed in our regs currently. And you can see where they're allowed, how they're allowed, and whether it's by special permit or whatever. So I did print that if people want it. And then
Do me a favor, Mike, can you send both of those to Cheryl?
yep. And then I also printed out sort of enlarged versions of the 3 commercially zoned areas of town. So South Willington, West Willington, Upriver Road, and the exit 71 interchange. And then I kind of went through and I labeled some of the more important properties: Love's, the truck stop, Phelps, River Road Vet. Because there's 2 pieces to this: what you can do where, and then where you can do it. So there's maybe the uses in the tables are all fine, but maybe we want to try to stretch where some of those uses should go. So I think it really should be a 2-pronged thing. So I made these. If anybody wants them, you can take them later. You can take them now. I can send them later, but when it all comes down to it, these are the only places you can have commercial development in Willington. It's probably 30 parcels. So, you know, it may be worth expanding that universe a little bit if we don't have other options.
What's this related?
That's the Village Hill, Village Springs and the pond.
That's fun.
That's owned by Becker.
If somebody wants a change in zoning, putting a development in their backyard or something, it's how difficult is it? What is the process for it?
They would seek a zone change. Well, if they're in the right zone, then they can do it based on the regs. If not, they would have to seek a zone change from the Planning and Zoning Commission, which requires a public hearing. And the commission would then say, you know, so if you wanted to take this property, which is currently yellow, and make it green, they might say, okay, well, you're already next to some, and that makes sense. But if you're here and said, I want to make this industrial, that's when the commission would say that is kind of in conflict with everybody that's in the neighborhood, and they would look at some of that.
Okay, I didn't know if it was a really long involved process or.
Not necessarily long, but it involves a hearing and an application and notices to neighbors and signs on the property and presentation of P&Z.
Mike, there's no key here.
There is no key because I had to make them, but
Red is
what page are you on?
first page.
Red is design community residential, which is sort of like, I think, basically housing.
Green is
South Willington Village, which is the zone that we
right,
sort of started here.
right, in EDC.
Purple is industrial. And the pinkish, peachish is the commercial. Yep.
Got it.
Green was South Wellington Village.
South Willington Village Zone. That's the sort of a mixed use zone that we did a couple of years ago. What do you mean?
Oh, I found it. You see?
I
It's-
didn't-
it's- it's-
Peaches, what did he say?
Commercial.
This is all commercial. Thank you.
So,
Yeah, I was looking to see if there's, more in parcel, it's the.
by the way, this funny looking one right here is me. Yeah, I'm right there.
That's you.
Yeah, that's me. It's really funny looking. This is the strangest shaped lot in Willington.
It is.
Yes, yeah.
How far?
It goes out there. And it goes out to this little like little patty of water, so.
Where the hell am I?
I started to
I'm over
trip.
here, so
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, that big expensive one right there.
Yeah, you might be farther back, because you're kind of up the hill, right? More over here?
No,
That's the gun club, isn't it, right here?
this is a gun
Oh,
club.
And then this is
in
an
any-
attorney.
In any event, I didn't mean to start up distractions.
This is, John, Diane.
Yeah, so you're somewhere around
I'm
here.
right, probably. Thinking, cause you got the interior lot down there too, so. No, I'm here, that's where I am.
So Mike, I'll draft up something, and then send it over to you and we can phone it back and forth. Okay.
That'll work.
And,
This on the floor truck?
yeah, the flow chart. No, I meant the letter. So not only working on the flow chart, and I'll be working on a letter to the board, so I can send it to the rest of you guys too. That's, all right, I can do that, no problem. And then, I think that, does anybody else have any other stuff they want to talk about?
I do, actually.
No, you do. I know that. More twin stuff?
No, is everybody aware of what the state's signing into law?
It's not.
8,002.
Just got fined in an emergency. This don't month.
That thing
Federal session.
went in.
Basically, it's a way to remedize affordable housing,
Crisis.
forcing 169 towns in Connecticut to achieve economic diversity. Work hand in hand. No, basically working hard anymore and living in the country is not going to be part of this process. It's basically going to be based on, this is the state saying that based on your population, based on the incomes of your population, this is the amount of affordable rent housing you have to provide. So no longer do I have to bust my stones. Want to live out in the country. Birds and bees and deer. Now the state is going to force the towns or hold back funding on certain projects. It's.
What about the apartments we already have? The student apartments and things like that. Do we already have a certain percentage of our town in affordable housing?
A lot of those
Is it designated?
single family residences that are being rented out to students.
We're about
Is it designation?
we're around 7%, I think 8%.
But is it official designation, isn't there?
Yeah, you have to be 30%, it has to be deed restricted, 30% of 80% of area median income to be qualified as affordable.
And then
Capital A affordable.
when it's categorized as affordable, that has certain benefits for the owner.
It has benefits to the owner if they're going to construct and they need financing. There's a lot of credits available if you're building this up front, but there's no ongoing. Towns can do that. Towns can choose to give people tax
Understand.
breaks, but we
I
don't do
get,
that.
I understand. So have you looked at the bill that we're discussing here?
I've skimmed
8,002.
8,002. It is a sort of a reduced version of 5,002,
Right.
which had a little bit more from a mandate
So,
perspective.
yeah, the governor was here, he talked to Pete Tanaka.
Mhm.
And Pete indicated to the governor, he's like, listen, we don't have any, there's no mass transit here.
Yep.
There's no supermarkets.
Yep.
There's no bank.
Mhm.
No public utilities.
There's no public, there's nothing.
Yeah.
And, you
And
know,
a large apartment complex. You're going to need sewer.
Yeah.
It's going to use.
so, I'm not sure exactly what passed, today or recently. The governor, shot back to Pete, that, well, these are suggestions. There's no stipulation. We're not forcing you to do this. That's what his words were at the meeting 3 or 4 months ago or 5 months ago.
That's changed.
Okay, so
That's changed.
I don't know.
state will determine and dictate how many people at certain income levels each town will have, up to 20% must be affordable rental. And basically saying,
Mike, can you take a look at this and
Yeah, I
let us
think
know next, at our next meeting, so we can get a,
it's not worded very strictly. What is do they have a
The
definition?
senior housing falls underneath that, right, as far as
It does.
affordable, so
does.
there's. I mean, I'm not in support of it, but there's different ways to look at it if it really became a mandate. Okay, is there an expanse in senior housing then? That doesn't mean every piece of property has to get developed to have, you know, apartment complexes in. You could expand Button Hill. I mean, so that way it's regionalized to an area and it still kind of flows in with that demographic of something that we need, but it's not expanding to every
Right.
corner of Willington.
Right.
So it's, there
well,
are
again,
ways,
like that, on that point, if you put a complex up like this, you know, Mike, when we were gonna do the warehouse was being considered, they were gonna run water over from 195, because they've got water down up to Yukon. So I mean, it's gonna be limited to certain areas. You know, the city of New York tried this in the late 50s. And they put up homes, they got Berry homes, they had South Side homes, and it was just large 10, 12-story apartments, you know? And it wasn't long before it became a bad place to go.
Mm.
I remember I was delivering chicken while I was in college. And
might be
delivering chicken to one of these apartments, and the guy who answered the door was a guy by the name of Melvin Haskell that I played basketball against when I was in high school. And he recognized me. He said, "What the hell are you doing here, Rankin?" He said, "I'm delivering chicken." He said, "You need to get out of here." But I mean, this, you know, we face conversations with residents about, we don't want to change the holistic,
Yeah,
but yet here comes our state saying, and why I'm bringing this up, it's not political. Why I'm bringing this up is our challenges may force people to think like we should be thinking with regard to development. And, you know, the common cause is now we have common enemy. The common enemy is the state, because they want to do something like this. And it's going to drive up, because then we're going to need no schools, we're going to need septic systems, no sewage, we're going to need water, not wells. And the next thing, who's paying for it?
mm.
I think we have to get a better definition of what they mean by low income housing. We can, again, build more on Button Hill, which is older housing, you know, it's retirement housing. Would that fit under that? And so that, you know, so we don't have to look at it being necessarily young children in there. So, you know, I think we have to kind of look a little creatively with this if we want to do it. I'm in favor
I think we're
of,
following the angle of what is being discussed now, and that's affordability.
Yeah.
And they want to be able to have a home, a place where we can have people live that are a little down on their luck.
well, I didn't feel that. I didn't get that sense.
Well, that's what it turned
But
into.
you know, a lot of the housing problem are people who are working. You know, they're 50, 55 years old. They're working, but they cannot afford to live in good housing. They may end up being very good neighbors. So I don't want people to think that it's going to be bad. If you don't own a car, you can't live here.
Think-
And
I
if
was
you
just
don't
gonna
have a
bring that up.
moderate income, you don't have a car, a reliable car. So I think that it kind of self-selects just by all of these circumstances.
So,
There's gonna be some
Well,
self-selection.
that way always happens around areas where there's density and population, and there's, like Mike said, transportation. And
Yes, that's a big
and to
issue.
look at this and say, all right, it's gonna have, a state budget's gonna handle 80% of the development. They're going to be putting up these 10-story locations.
But I'm not just.
I don't think that's gonna happen, what?
so Mike, 5,002, is that what you're looking at now?
No, I was reading the affordable housing plan. So for something to qualify in Willington, a 2-bedroom unit, as long as it could not rent for more than $1,500 a month approximately. So a $1,400 a month 2-bedroom unit qualifies as affordable housing. It's because it's based on area median income. But 8,000, the main shift with 8,002 is that it's going to these regional fair share plans where the COGs are going to establish a methodology for how you get
The
there.
COGs are gonna do it?
Correct.
Oh my God.
The towns can elect to do it themselves. You can do your own, or you can just participate. But the idea is that they establish a number which you then plan for, not build, not approve, not pay for. It's
Yeah, but that's the camel's nose under the tent.
So
It's going to be.
let me be clear. I'm not for these bills because I don't like the continued beating of the drum that zoning is the problem.
Yeah,
I think that construction costs are the problem and that
Yeah.
the state building code is adopted
we're
every
gonna
year
get
to
hit,
get
we're
harder
gonna
and
hit
harder.
catch-22.
Yeah, but they took all the teeth out of 5,002 for 8,002. The idea is that if regionally, based upon all the methodology and the analysis, a town like Willington should have a certain number of units. What they want to do is understand that you as a town have thought about how and where and in what manner those units would be located. Not, this is where they have to go, we're gonna pay for the infrastructure, we've done the design. They're not asking you to actually
Do it.
go so far as to build it. They want to know that you have thought about how you might accommodate those units. And it is not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of units. Willington may have maybe a dozen or 2 dozen.
Isn't there a way that we can, repurpose something that we already have? Can't one of our existing complexes be categorized as affordable and then in combination with Button Hill and what's already here? Now we're over the threshold.
Well, I think that if there's an existing apartment building that doesn't qualify, I don't think that you could just say, well, we would just
I get it. Right.
because there's tenants there. But yes, part of it may be we've analyzed, we could get another 15 units at Button Hill. Part of it may be we could convert the mill to, that's all part of that.
Part of this doesn't make sense because there's so many houses in Wellington that do qualify. They're really inexpensive.
But they're not restricted.
No, they're not restricted, but that's low income people.
Yes, so they're referred to as NOAA, naturally occurring affordable housing.
Or is there any stipulation in 8,002 or 5,002 for NOAA?
Well, I think what the town could do is say, we are gonna offer some type of an incentive so that people that have these units that qualify, just simply restrict them. You do that. There was a proposal that an accessory dwelling unit that someone built could qualify. There's a lot of ways that you can get there. And I think that the risk in Willington is low because we don't have the market. We're adjacent to Mansfield, which is where the pressure is, and even they have seen things sort of decline. But also we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have water, we don't have sewer. And that is what makes things really expensive.
How do we meet the mandates if
we don't have to meet it. We just have to prove to the state that we have planned for how this could happen. If something showed up and somebody wanted to build 25 units, have we thought about what that would look like and how we would get there?
Well, that's fine, as long as there's no pressure on the variables that go into it.
It's just a
It's just a planning exercise.
right.
Right.
It is not. It was originally envisioned as you're going to get saddled with a
The
number.
problem is that it may be a planning exercise now, but nice town you have there. It's a shame if something should happen to it.
But so here's the thing, we're already there. We don't have 10%, right? So we are currently subject to 8-30G and have been since the 70s when it was adopted.
All right.
Any town which does not have 10% of their housing stock as deed restricted affordable, not NOAA, is subject to 8-30G, which means that a developer can come in, they can propose a development anywhere of any density, and they do not have to meet any zoning requirements. They have to meet building code, health code, fire code. They can say, we're going to build at 100 units an acre, we're going to put it here. And
It behooves us to get ahead of this then.
I mean, like I said, 8-30G has been in place for 50 years. And it was put in place because in the 70s, the state said, well, everybody's adopting crazy zoning requirements and people are not able to live anywhere but the cities unless they have enough money to build a house.
Yeah.
So we are and continue to be subject to that, but you don't see places near here we don't see those developments because the market isn't there to support it.
So I just need to review these. So there's two things here, and I'm unsure of which one I'm supposed to be looking at, 5,002 or 8,002.
You want to see 8,002. 5,002 was passed and the governor did not
I
sign
got
it.
it, and I understand now.
There's a really good, I'll try to remember to send it to you. I don't know if it's really good, but it's the best that they have out now, but OLR, the Office of Legislative Research, did a section by section analysis of 8,002, which sort of gives you in less than 100 pages, sort of the language and what it means. It's a little bit better.
A researcher.
But
All right.
ChatGPT works too.
All right. So we sort of got.
My point for just bringing it up was that from the standpoint of infighting, we got things outside
Mhm.
that might be forcing us to look at our budget and our town expenses a little differently.
Mhm.
And it's happening. I mean, the public poverty level right now is 15%. We have a number of houses that are in blight,
Mhm.
that aren't being repaired and being rented for the duration of when they crumble. So our grand list is gonna continue going in the wrong direction. And we don't have, how many housing starts did you say last year?
6.
6.
Yeah, not very many.
So I mean, that's.
Mhm.
I think it's good you brought it up because it's planning, it's thinking ahead, it's planning before it gets dropped in my lap.
Mhm.
So I think it was wise of you to bring it up.
Yeah, you know, it could be a catalyst for opposing forces to get together and say, yeah, we need to be thinking like one here.
Yes,
You know, like you said earlier, identify the problem that we have a ticking bomb. There is a report, and I'll share with you, these guys know, and I'll make it my last point. Is Mike looking at his watch or whatever?
No, I'm sorry.
There is a 10-year study that was done by the old Economic Development Commission. And they hired us experts to come in and put it together. We're called Fair Weather.
Consulting.
Yeah. And they said the same thing that we're saying right now. 10 years ago. I mean, 11 years ago since we started. I mean,
we need to move along our agenda. Approval of minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 27th meeting.
I second.
Second. I read them over. They look good to me. They were done by John. So they're obviously good. Mike, I wouldn't be so sure, but
Nope.
John.
That's why I leave it to the expert.
So,
And they're on your computer before you get home.
Bill seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Public participation. Cheryl, you're not the public, so it's good to see you here. Thank you for joining.
Of course.
Okay.
I just wasn't feeling well, so I didn't want to bring in any yuckies to you guys. That's why I signed in at home.
Now that means we have to go to all the Thanksgiving festivities. We won't be able to stay home and be sick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want me to come in and get you all sick so you didn't have to go to
Yeah,
your
can you swing by
Thanksgiving?
town hall real quick?
Sure, I'll cough on all of you, no problem.
All right.
Did we talk about the December 22nd meeting?
Yeah, I don't know whether or not we want to have, it's great. It's 3 days before Christmas. I don't know if we want to have it or not, but on the other hand, if we don't have that, then we have a bit of a problem because we're kind of getting stuck for 2 months doing nothing. So.
Can we have a special meeting on December 22nd?
We could meet at any point if we get to a point where some of this stuff has kind of formalized and we need to have a meeting, we can have a meeting.
Maybe we can, well, we need to do our schedule. It's not on this. Oh, yes, it is. Add next to your schedule. So I sort of went out of place here. So is everybody still good with Monday afternoon, or excuse me, Monday evening meetings? Good.
Yeah, they work for me.
Okay, once a month. Do we, any changes or anything like that? Do we want to double up any months? Or no changes? I'm just looking around to see.
I would say it's too early to tell whether or not we need to figure out whether or not Board of Selectmen will want to push forward with a tax stabilization ordinance.
Yeah,
That's key.
yeah.
So
So,
I think it's kind of a little bit of a case by case basis. If we ever end up having a special meeting, if they're supportive, then we kind of take it from there.
yeah, okay,
Plus, we'll be meeting with Board of Selectmen and a couple of, maybe a town meeting, so to double up. We probably will be doubling up without making it.
Okay. So I guess, Mike, okay, fine.
Yeah, we filed the current year through January, so the new one, we have through the January meeting on the current meeting dates, so we'll file a new one for
We have
2026.
January.
Well, the fourth Monday, but we file through January every year.
Fourth Monday in January? I didn't have it. Thank you.
So that'll be, yeah, January 26th.
26. Okay. Any other input? Anybody else have any things they want to discuss? If not, I'll have a motion to adjourn. Someone needs to make the motion. Make the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Second, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much,
Aye.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice Thanksgiving,
Good.
everyone.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Take care, Carol.